to ask your questions to Allison. We have 15 minutes. You can either ask your questions directly or you can put them in the chat box. I'll be checking the chat box and I'll be able to ask your questions for you if you prefer that method. So welcome everyone, and thank you, Principal Larsen, for doing our coffee talk.
You're very welcome. I also wanted to just remind everybody that we are recording these and posting them. So I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that this morning, that they'll be posted. And I see several people I've seen before. That's good. Hi, Stephanie Cucci, who I know as a parent at Edmonds Woodway, but also as a former colleague when we were both in Everett. So it's nice to see you this morning as well.
Hi, Stephanie.
Good morning.
So I think we're just taking questions and I'm happy to answer them. And we have about 15 minutes to answer things. Yes, Deb.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could go over the possibilities of how to sign up for and participate in the athletic workouts.
Yes. So I was thinking this might be a topic because our webinar was canceled this week. So on our Edmonds Woodway website, under the athletics page, there's instructions and paperwork about, what to fill out for students to be able to participate in the conditioning options that we have available. And it is open, so students can participate in any of the conditioning activities. They don't have to necessarily be trying out for a sport later, or it doesn't have any impact in the tryouts that might be happening for different sports later. It's just an opportunity for students to do conditioning. So check out the Edmonds Woodway website under the athletics page for the paperwork. Initially, we had put out a start date of January 11th, which is Monday. Our information, and we had the webinar set and ready to go. And then our information just keeps changing a little bit. And there's a lot of little logistics and things that we need to work out. So when we get new information, it changes the logistics that we need to do. So we decided to delay our webinar so that we could have the most updated information for parents. And then that does delay a little bit when we start for our athletics conditioning activities, but we will be starting soon. It will be, I would say, in the next couple weeks for sure, unless something really goes sideways, we'll be starting those conditioning activities, just not Monday, but very soon we will. Other questions? Yes, Hillary.
My daughter's a freshman. Because of this year, she plays soccer, football, but is sort of interested in playing softball. But if it happens, will they be at the same time? And is that possible, or would she have to try? What is going to possibly happen with? So, better question.
Right now, we do have some seasons. I don't have them memorized off the top of my head, but we do have separate seasons for each of the sports seasons that mostly follow the same grouping of sports for the fall, winter, and spring season. I think except for football is kind of shifting around a little bit. And so right now our idea is that a girls soccer season is typically different than the girls softball season. Am I correct? Yeah. So it'd still be a different season for those, so she could try out for both sports. If we start getting later and later into the spring and keep compressing, right now the seasons are really compressed, and if it keeps compressing, then we might end up with a plan where there's sports that are overlapping that usually would not be. But right now our plan is still having those 3 separate seasons that are each just shorter seasons.
Super, thank you.
Other questions?
But can I clarify? Because
yes.
What I heard last night was that at our coaches meeting was that for conditioning, she has to choose one of those sports to be connected to that pod. So she would likely choose the soccer, because that would be her first season. She would choose the soccer pod to attend.
Thank you, Libby, for clarifying that. Good. Other questions?
Remember, you can ask questions directly or put them in the chat box, and I'm happy to read them out. Deb?
Deb.
So we just heard from the person in car there that there's pods linked to a specific sport. So that sounds good. When we go to the website, we'll be able to see, for example, Naomi plays basketball and runs track and sometimes cross country. But basketball is her first love. So I would assume there might be a basketball group or something like that. Anyone know?
Yes, because it's grouped by the coaches that are running them. I'm going to go ahead and put the link into the chat for us so that you can access it quickly. And then let's see, it looks like there's an interest form that they fill out, and then it asks them the school, and then it does ask them to choose their primary sport and then an alternative option. And I'm wondering if I would have to double check with our athletics director, but I'm wondering if they're choosing an alternative option because the conditioning does have to happen in small pods. And so maybe they're also trying to make sure they can have the right amount of students and the right amount of spaces in pods so that all students can be participating in conditioning that want to, even if they don't have their primary sport as their first choice. Christiane.
Yeah, I was wondering, do they, in the season, do all the conditioning hours happen at the same time, or can kids sign up for several conditioning groups if they are interested? I'm not saying that they should, but.
So during this time that we're doing the conditioning piece, which is separate than the actual sports seasons, that will be, you think of this as kind of the conditioning window, and then there's a separate sports seasons window. So during the conditioning window, they're signing up for one sport and then alternative so that they can be placed in the conditioning pod. They won't be doing two separate pods. Like they won't have two pods at the same time.
So they can't sign up for, let's say, cross country and soccer.
And soccer.
Conditioning,
Right.
I mean. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
They would, and they have a chance to say what's their first choice and what's their second choice, and then it would be placed in the, hopefully their first choice, but also if there's not space, in their second choice.
Thanks.
Other questions? Maybe some things that parents might be interested in knowing is that I've set a goal that I would do parent webinars once a month, or some sort of evening parent activity once a month. Last month in December, it was parent conferences. This month in January, we are going to be doing a webinar about the high school and beyond plan and how that the graduation requirements that are organized around the high school and beyond plan, and what parents need to know about that as your freshmen start, especially freshmen, start working through the 4 years that they have to build that plan. And that is a graduation requirement from the state. So that's important information that I think we haven't really articulated that a lot to parents in the past. We've just kind of taken care of it as a school through the Naviance activities that students do. So I wanted to just engage parents more in the discussion about that. And then in February, I'm planning a webinar about student registration for classes for the 21-22 school year. And I think sometimes school is just crazy to start thinking we're planning now for next year. We're not even done with this year. But we do those registrations so that we can help plan how our school is funded with staffing for the following year. And in the past, when students are in school, we'll send information home to parents, but really we kind of handle the registration here at school. In our remote setting, we really need to partner with parents to have the parents help us guide their students in making good class choices. And we will still have a lot of opportunities to support students around choosing classes, but we're also wanting to ask parents to help us with that. And so we'll do a webinar so parents will kind of know what needs to be done and all the activities that will be taking place. And then, you know, for students and parents, that's like a fill out a form and you're done. But for the school, that sets our staffing and sets our funding and that helps us figure out what courses we're going to take and what our schedule is going to be the next year. And so that launches for us a lot of really in-depth and complex work to do as we get that done. So that's why it's so early. And then we start working from there. So that would be an important webinar in February as well.
Thank you, Allison. That's all exciting. I'm looking forward to that. There's a question in our chat box. Will there be a different schedule the last few days of the semester? And if so, when will that schedule shift start?
Mm-hmm. So for this year, typically we have an alternate schedule for our finals week, the last week of the semester, if we were in person. For this year, we're not going to do that. So we'll continue to do the same schedule through the end of the semester that we have been doing. I just felt like it would start being really confusing to students and parents about when am I supposed to be Zooming? So we wanted to eliminate those questions. I've also asked teachers to, just because of the level of anxiety and stress that our students are experiencing right now, I've asked teachers to not necessarily create a final that is anxiety inducing. And usually we have usually required finals. And so I've told teachers that finals are really not going to be required as a school as a whole. What I'm encouraging teachers to do is think about how can we have a culminating assessment or a culminating project that might be just an additional opportunity for students to demonstrate their learning, especially if earlier in the semester students weren't demonstrating learning in particular areas, but then this might be yet just one more opportunity for students to demonstrate learning. So that it could improve their grade by the end of the semester. So we're really focusing on that part. You know, the importance of a final in that it gives students another opportunity, but backing off on creating these anxiety-producing finals that we seem to be used to as part of our culture usually at Edmonds Woodway. And the same schedule. So then I see the next question. I know everyone says ACT and SAT are not relevant this year, but is that really true? And what kind of guidance can students expect? A really good person that's a great resource for this is our school counselors, and then also Mr. Wellington, our IB coordinator. A lot of universities have said that the SAT and ACT are not something that's going to be used for their admissions decisions this school year. But that's really an individual university decision. So I guess my general advice would be to have students check for the universities that they are interested in applying to, checking what their admission requirements are on the university websites. Because generally, many universities have said that those tests aren't important, but we can't say that about every single university, and it's really each individual university's decision about that. So I would be checking those websites and seeing what the admission requirements are of the universities that they're planning to apply for.
Okay, we probably have time for one more question. Deb, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I was just wondering, my child's a freshman, when do we get the second semester schedule?
Oh, I think that, can students not see that in Skyward right now? Maybe
It could be my ignorance on the system, but I'll have to go look and see.
I think in Skyward those, oh, I'm seeing no, okay.
I'm gonna look right now.
So, oh, Christiana's saying yes, she can see it in Skyward.
Yes, I can see, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just asked my son and he says he has it.
Okay. So they can see it in Skyward, and for our freshman parents, that's the best place to look. We don't print the schedules for students, so they need to be checking their Skyward to see what their schedules are. I do anticipate some changes and shifting around of schedules as we go into second semester. There's some cleanup that every semester a school needs to do to make sure students have the right schedules, and making sure that, you know, our personnel hasn't changed or whatever things have happened during first semester. So we'll be doing those cleanups. So I would say right now schedules are a draft, and then as we get toward the end of the semester, they will become more like a final schedule that students would be following. And Stephanie.
Do you want to take one more, Allison?
Sure, I can take one more.
Okay.
For Stephanie, for the senior question, is information on spring planning. Are there ways to help as this year unfolds? So right now, do you mean for like spring senior activities, kind of rites of passage celebrations, that kind of thing?
Yeah, those kinds of things. And just this year is going to be unique. And there hasn't been, besides one email on the escapade, there hasn't been a lot to parents from any place. So since this year's already weird, where's ways to start getting that information and being able to help if that's what's needed, make some things happen, because they're going to probably have to look different. So just looking for ideas to ways to help.
Yes, thanks, Stephanie. We're just starting the process of thinking about how can we make the spring celebratory for seniors, knowing that we probably can't do a lot of the things even this year traditionally that we've done. So the senior class officers are meeting on this Monday to brainstorm what kinds of things they might like to see happen. And then also I'm meeting with the escapade parents, who are kind of the fundraising arm of activities that we can do. I'm going to be meeting with them, I believe, next week also. They've brainstormed a lot of activities that they thought might be really cool to do. And so then looking through those ideas, we're going to see what kinds of things that are feasible in the current conditions that we have, or what we might anticipate in the spring. And what I'm really looking for from a school perspective is 2 to 4 really nice celebrations. We're going to have a lot of ideas. I think last spring when we were scrambling, we had like 15 or 20 different suggestions. We should do this and that. And we really just found we need to settle on 2 to 4 things that are just really special, that we do really, really well. And so that's kind of what we're looking for under our restrictions. And cap and gown and announcements, they're sent to your home from Jostens, because you order them directly from Jostens, and that was the system that was easier for them to set up rather than distributing through the school this year. Okay. I know we're past 8:15.
Yes, and I will quickly jump in and just let everyone know that the Principal's Coffee is sponsored by the PSO. And if you'd like more information about the PSO or to join, just go to ewhspso.org and fill out a membership form. We just had our meeting last night, and it's once a month, and we're a super fun group to hang out with. So it's just an hour. And Stephanie, we actually talked about senior year last night, so that might be a good place to their next meeting will be February 4th. Anyway, hope to see you at the PSO meetings as well. So thank you, Principal Larsen, and we will meet again next month on the first Friday per month, and that will be on February 5th.
Okay, good. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day and have a good weekend.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.